Hello, my name is Paul Jones, author of Concerning a Nation and several other videos on Bible prophecy. Sometimes events of world-shattering importance make the headlines. Sometimes they don't. Often the media, while exaggerating some stories to the level of hyperbolic hysteria, ignores or fails to appreciate the importance of others. Take last week. An article hidden away on the internet revealed that the United States is withdrawing her bombers from the island of Guam. The Pentagon says they can still be where they need to be quickly if launched from the continental United States. They're not fooling anyone. In fact, they admit that it's the threat of Chinese missiles which has made them withdraw. The base is still open technically, and bombers will occasionally be flown there. But an Australian analyst, Peter Layton, says that this sends a clear message. Bit by bit, the US is leaving. The nations of the Pacific, Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Australia will have to fight their own battles. The Great Withdrawal is a process which has been associated with Trump. But in fact, it started a while ago. It's just that Trump speeded up the process and draws more attention to it with his tantrums. Central to the projection of American power is the aircraft carrier, but they too are now threatened by the development by China and Russia of hypersonic missile technology. Like battleships in World War II, the carriers have become cumbersome and expensive vanity symbols. But this isn't just about hardware. Perceptions and faith are important. Many nations are beginning to suspect that America cannot be trusted to defend them. We talk of empires collapsing, but actually they die the death of 1,000 cuts. The British Empire may have reeled from the loss of India in 1947, but she was already bankrupted by the war and would lose other colonies subsequently. Here are some of those cuts over the past few years. On May the 12th, 2016, before Trump had even won the election, France announced a worldwide Middle East peace plan. It involved India, the European Union, China and Russia. The plan was to create a once-and-for-all settlement to the conflict. The US was not involved. As for Trump's own once-and-for-all peace plan, I've spoken about that on many other occasions. US dominance in the internet world has now been eroded, now that they've lost control of the internet domain ICANN. That was before Trump too. But the pace under Trump is certainly quickening. During the 2016 election, I remembered Henry Kissinger's quip on the Iran-Iraq war. It's a pity they can't both lose. It did seem to many to be a choice between arsenic and cyanide. What was it to be? Continue down the road of liberal depravity with Hillary until the sins of America forced God's hand? Or hand over the keys of America to an ignorant clown who might destroy it in a fit of childish pique? Trump's lumbering and destructive incompetence may well be the perfect choice for God to deliver a self-inflicted humiliation on this gigantic but morally confused empire. Last week, the media reported that recent actions by the US and Turkey had wrecked the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, creating such confusion that French President Emmanuel Macron wondered if the 70-year-old alliance was still standing. But Britain will no longer be America's inside man in Europe because Britain has left the European Union. A voice for free markets and democratic accountability. You wouldn't want that in corrupt, totalitarian Europe. Brexit, however, severed the umbilical cord that connected Europe to America through the UK. Now that wasn't Trump either. However, under Trump, the US has pulled out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the TTIP, originally American-sponsored ideas. At the beginning of last year, the US and Israel withdraw from UNESCO. Sounds like nothing, but it is part of a pattern of withdrawal. And of course, the Paris Agreement on climate change. Now I must stress, I don't disagree with these withdrawals, but they all have a cumulative thrust in one direction. Also, further tensions have arisen over Britain's decision to allow China to help her build the 5G network. The US is considering withdrawing spy planes and intelligence officials. Britain is having to choose between America and China, with a free trade deal possibly compromised by the result. Turkey is being wooed by Russia while drifting away from the West. China and Russia are moving closer together. Meanwhile, in Asia, President Duterte of the Philippines, America's first colony, said that China is the new power in the region, and he's pledged to pull his country out of the American orbit. Japanese protesters say they want an end to the US military presence in Okinawa. India, Japan and China are making huge inroads to Africa. They all want to reform the UN Security Council to reflect the new world order. Russia's gas giant Gazprom, as part of Russia's long-term de-dollarization plan, settles its accounts with China in renminbi. The oil company Rosneft announced in August last year that it would no longer use dollars for international contracts. Reuters reported last year that Iran, Malaysia, Turkey and Qatar are considering trading amongst themselves in gold or through a barter system as a hedge against any future US sanctions on them. Troops leaving Afghanistan, bombers leaving Guam, France, Germany and Italy discussing a European defence pact separate from NATO. And where does all this leave Israel? Israel is now a great regional power. She's made rapprochements with Russia, Turkey and secretly her Arab neighbours. Although pressures will continue for a Palestinian state, the threat of Iran has made strange bedfellows in the region. Israel now does more trade with China than the US. She sells $2 billion worth of defence equipment to India every year. A tiny country leads the world in high-tech developments. She now has natural gas resources and the military clout to defend them. Piecemeal and quietly these things are happening. And yet in other ways America seems to be in the middle of a firestorm. Earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, droughts, forest fires, mass shootings and now coronavirus. There hardly seems time to recover from one before another starts. And a mountain of debt which is only growing. All it needs is for interest rates to go up and the pack of cards could collapse. Now there's nothing original about predicting the collapse of the United States and its global imperium. Sometimes it seems as though the miracle is that it's lasted this long, especially if you believe in the judgment of God. America is still the world's biggest exporter of depraved liberal ideas. But it is important to understand why. If you've watched my other videos, you will see this. America's period of championing and defending Israel is over. What use does God now have for such a depraved country? And yet America still stands. What will knock it over? It may seem a contradiction to say that a reluctant and retreating America may be destroyed by one last intervention, and Iran remains the last enemy of Israel. Now, there are a lot of misleading books and articles today trying to link Iran with Ezekiel 38, just like they used to do with Libya in the 80s and the Soviet Union in the 60s. This war, as Revelation clearly tells us, does not take place until after the millennium and is fought with ancient technology. But that doesn't mean there won't be a confrontation with Iran. There probably will be. In one sense, it's happening. In Syria, in southern Lebanon, in Yemen. After all, everyone is sick of Iran. What you can expect is that if there is a war with Iran, it will be very messy and almost impossible to contain within the Gulf. But I'm not a prophet and the future is the future. Gathering storm clouds can often dissipate or regather in another area. Only God knows. But we must read the times. The direction of events does not lead me to believe that a man like Donald Trump is going to lead the US into a new sunlit era of conservative triumphs. Is this America first or America nowhere? Thank you all for watching. My name is Paul Jones. Please be sure to check out Concerning a Nation on Lulu. Thank you again and God bless you.